Hi, I'm Sharp. Welcome to my workshop. So for my first video, I just thought I would do a quick introduction, tell you guys where my passion for cosplaying came from, and show you some of the projects that I've been working on lately. But first, let me give you a quick tour of my workshop. That's it. That is literally it. My workshop is stuffed in the smallest corner of our storage room. All I have to work with is this 4-foot table over here. I have stuff everywhere. Some people might call it messy. I prefer to call it organized chaos. Definitely not the best setup, but I make it work. Speaking of not best setup, this is also not the ideal situation for making videos for YouTube. For starters, not the greatest lighting, crappy background, and sound. I only have a built-in microphone on my camera. I don't have a hookup for an external microphone. I tried using the internal microphone, but that thing picks up everything. I had to shut off both my printers and the furnace. Although I'm not sure where you guys are, over here it's winter. Shutting off the furnace? Bad idea. So I went a little crazy on the sound thing. I am recording the sound on my laptop and video on my camera. Then I go in my video editing tool, and sync the two. Again, not the ideal situation, but I still make it work. So, let's move on to some of the cosplays that I worked on in the past. The first costume I ever built was Boba Fett. Although this picture is fairly recent, I would say about 3 to 4 years ago, I actually built this costume way back in 1997. And I spent approximately $150, and that's mainly because I purchased the helmet and the belts. Everything else, except for the overalls and the Stormtrooper blaster, was handmade. The armor is cut out of aluminum, and the jetpack is made entirely out of toys from the dollar store. Now this is far from the standards from the 501st Legion, but it has won me a few prizes at Halloween parties. Now I was never a really big fan of cosplay back then. My idea of cosplay then was dressing up at Halloween. But then I attended my very first Comic-Con in 2017, and I've been hooked ever since. My most recent costume is Thor Ragnarok. You may have caught a glimpse of it either in my intro or on the mannequin behind me. Now I purchased the templates for the armor from Sean Prod, and the accessories, the hammer, the helmet, and the swords are 3D printed following tutorials from Uncle Jessy. I'm a really big fan of Uncle Jessy. I watch his videos all the time. The only thing I will say is even though I followed his video for the helmet, I used a different file than he did. The shield, on the other hand, is freehand. It was my very first time doing anything freehand, and I think it turned out really good. Of the 5 costumes that I own right now, I've purchased Batman and Captain America. The other 3, Iron Man and both Thor costumes, I made myself. This one, Thor Ragnarok, is by far my best work. Now let's check some of the 3D printed stuff I've been doing. Our family cosplay for this year is Yugioh. My son is Yugi, I'm Dark Magician, my daughter is Dark Magician Girl, and my wife is Taya. So 2 of them are going to need dual discs. This design is from Deadpool 78 off of Thingiverse, and he describes it as actual size, and you know what? I believe him. This thing is massive. I honestly cannot picture my son or my wife walking around the busy halls of Comic-Con with this thing strapped to their arm. So then I came across this little design from AE86 Drifter, again off of Thingiverse. Now his daughter wanted to dress up at Halloween and go trick-or-treating. So he made this child-size dual disc. Now I could have scaled this big one down over here, but it wasn't going to work with the cards, and I didn't like that. So you can still fit the cards in this one, which is what I was looking for, and this is much more appropriate for the busy Comic-Con. So I'm really glad I found this one. No explanation needed here. The Infinity Gauntlet. This design is from Happy Moon, and once again you can find it on Thingiverse. I really like this one. It sits really nicely together. He describes it at 1:1 scale, and once again I believe him. Once it's sitting on the stand, this thing is standing 2 feet tall. Now, all of the gems are printed in transparent filament, as I intend to add LED lights to it. Now, I've had a little bit of a misprint down here, but after about 78 hours, I was not going to print it again. I can just fill it in and then sand it a little bit. Now, you're probably wondering why all the funky colors. Long story short, I had a box full of miscellaneous filament. However, each was only about half a kilogram spools, hence the multicolored gauntlet. This might look familiar as well. Stormbreaker. I purchased this design off of Nico Industries, and I think when I bought it, it was $20. If I'm not mistaken, it is down to $15 now, but don't quote me on that. Go check the website for yourselves. Now, is this movie accurate? No, it isn't. Do I care? No, I don't. I am a fan of the curved handle. I don't like the straight handle from the movie, which is why I printed this one. I'm also a fan of these handy little holes over here where you can either use a PVC tube or a wooden dowel for some reinforcements. This gigantic mess is Optimus Prime's Sword of Judgment from the movie Age of Extinction. Now, the plan for Comic-Con 2020 is for me to build 3 foam-based Transformers: Optimus Prime, Bumblebee, and RC from the TV series Transformers Prime. Now, my daughter said I was not allowed to be Optimus Prime without his sword, so I printed this sword. This design you can find on my mini factory, and it was designed by Thomas Duncan. Now, again, it has those handy little holes for the wooden dowels. Now, one thing I will mention is that these symbols on the blade, as you get lower and lower down the blade, these symbols get deeper and deeper, and I found that it was kind of a big deal or hard to remove the supports out of those symbols. And something else, I don't know if you can see it on the camera, but what's wrong with this picture? Yeah, there's some holes missing over here. At first I thought it was a misprint, but I looked at the file again and this is how it is. I did not notice it until everything was printed, so I left it like that. It's no big deal. I'll just use my rotary tool and I'll shave off some of the pegs and then put it together. I have a little bit of sanding to make everything fit together, but once complete, this sword should be approximately 6 feet tall. And finally, we have Tracer, my favorite Overwatch character. If I'm not printing props, I'm printing figurines. Now, I mentioned earlier I was a really big fan of Uncle Jessy. While I was watching some of his videos a few days ago, I stumbled upon one of them while he was printing this exact same figure, and I just had to print one for myself. This one is from Printed Obsession off of my mini factory. He has some really nice designs, and I am most definitely going to print quite a few of his designs in the weeks/months to come. So this wraps up my intro video. You can find links to everything I've talked about in the description down below. If you've enjoyed watching this video, please like and share, and if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and that notification icon so that you don't miss any of the content. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you next time in Sharp's Workshop.